Let me ask you one simple question. What is the greatest music album of all time? Music is the soundtrack to our lives, the universal language that transcends borders, cultures, and generations. From the powerful riffs of rock to the soulful melodies of R&B, music has a way of connecting us all. But here's the thing, with so many styles, genres, and personal preferences, how do we even begin to compare one album to another? Can it be objective, or is it just a matter of taste? This debate, objective versus subjective, has been going on for as long as people have been making music. Some say it's about numbers, sales, awards, chart positions. Others argue that it's about how the music makes you feel, the memories it evokes, and the emotional impact it has. So I started thinking, is there a way to bridge the gap between these two perspectives? Is there a formula that can respect personal taste whilst also acknowledging the undeniable achievements of an album? Well, after some thought, I think I found a solution. A definite way to rank music albums that's both objective and subjective. And today, I'm going to share that formula with you. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll have a whole new way of thinking about music. Let's get started. So where on earth do we begin? Before breaking down the formula, let's quickly establish why music is both a matter of taste and a matter of fact. The beauty of music is that it's incredibly diverse, and it can speak to each of us in unique ways. It's not just about the notes or the lyrics, it's about how those elements come together to create an experience, and that experience can be deeply personal. But here's where it gets interesting. While music is an emotional journey for each listener, it also exists within a larger context, a world where albums are measured, compared, and ranked. And that's where the debate begins. In the red corner, we have the subjective experience, the personal connection we each have with our favourite albums. These are the records that resonate with us, the songs we play on repeat, the lyrics we memorise. It's all about emotion, nostalgia, and personal taste. But music is also a craft, an industry, and an art form that's evaluated by more than just feelings. We measure success through album sales, chart performance, critical acclaim, and even cultural impact. These are the objective metrics that allow us to compare one album to another on a broader scale. So we end up with two ways to look at music, through the lens of personal experience and through the lens of measurable success. Both perspectives are valid, but they often lead to very different conclusions. So how do we navigate this? How can we respect the emotional power of music while also acknowledging the importance of its broader success? It's a tough question, but one that I think we can answer by finding a way to combine each of the perspectives. And that's where the idea of a balanced formula comes in. A way to objectively rank albums while still giving credit to the subjective experiences they create. And that's exactly what we're going to explore next. The formula is built on 10 key criteria, 8 of them objective and 2 of them subjective. Each criterion plays a role in capturing the full picture of an album's greatness. Let's start with the objective criteria. These are the measurable aspects of an album, and they account for 60% of the final score. Here's how it breaks down. Now I'm not going to go into full detail about this, but as you can see, each criteria consists of more sub-criteria. If you want to find out more information about how these scores are objectively calculated, then stay tuned to the end to find out more. In addition to the 8 objective criteria, we also incorporate 2 subjective criteria, which collectively account for 50% of the overall score. These are based entirely on a listener's personal experience and emotional connection with an album. Now the eagle-eyed of those among you will have realised that our formula adds up to 110. Why 110? Because I wanted to allow for the greatest albums to score over 100, recognising that sometimes an album transcends even the highest of expectations. By adding up these scores, 8 objective and 2 subjective, we get a value that represents both the hard facts and the emotional power of music. It's a formula designed to be as fair and balanced as possible, giving credit where it's due while also honouring the personal experience. And here's where it gets interesting. The score isn't just the number, it places the album into one of 6 categories. For albums that attain a score of 0 to 20, these are regarded as noise pollution. These are albums that, well, let's just say they didn't quite hit the mark. You might want to skip these. Albums rated 20 to 40 are broken records. These albums may have had potential, but they fell short in execution or just didn't resonate. 40 to 60s are your average Joe, solid but unremarkable. These albums are decent listens but don't do much to stand out. Albums 60 to 80 are pretty solid, strong overall, with a good mix of quality and appeal, but they might not be groundbreaking. Now those albums that get ranked 80 to 100 are gold dust. These albums are top tier, offering a blend of excellence across the board. They're the ones you come back to time and time again. And then finally, the Hall of Fame, the legends. These are the albums that go above and beyond, setting standards and breaking boundaries. They're the best of the best. Now this is a lot of information, and I know what you're wondering, so how does this formula work in action? Well, let's test it out with one of the most iconic albums of all time. Michael Jackson's Thriller. Released back in 1982, Thriller wasn't just an album, it led to a cultural phenomenon. But how does it stack up when we break it down objectively? To calculate and organise the criteria scores, I'm using Notion as my primary tool. Additionally, I've created a template on Google Docs, both of which you can find linked in the description below. We'll start with the objective criteria, working our way through each one to see how Thriller scores. One thing that I want to quickly clear up before we do this, however, is the difference between 3 of the criteria: thematic coherence, thematic continuity, and thematic depth. To put it simply, thematic coherence is the overall consistency of themes. Thematic continuity is the logical progression of themes between the album's tracks. And thematic depth is the complexity and richness of the themes themselves. So here we are, now in Notion. You'll find that this is the same as the template below. So let's go through it one by one and analyze Thriller. So these are the main criterias, and these are the sub-criterias. In the future when I do these videos, I will be using my face cam, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to talk through it like this. First, let's look at technical quality, which is all about the instrumentation, production, and vocal performance. Thriller is a landmark album when it comes to technical brilliance. 2 of the men who were paramount to its success were producer Quincy Jones and recording engineer Bruce Swedien. Swedien was precise in his approach, recording 91 unique versions of Billie Jean before selecting the final cut. The instrumentation is smooth and diverse, and it scores an impressive 96 out of 100. The production quality, handled by Quincy Jones, is near perfect at 97 out of 100. Finally, MJ's vocal performance is iconic, and also scores 97 out of 100. Here's a fact that corresponds with the high total for Thriller on technical quality. Technique used on the album was that Swedien would record Michael's vocals, then do the same thing again with MJ taking a few steps back, whilst the preamp gain was turned up to match the levels of the previous recording. This is why Thriller has such a great natural depth to its sound. This brings the total technical quality to 9.66 out of 10. It's a near flawless execution in all the technical aspects. Let's move on to originality and creativity, which is divided into innovation and songwriting. Thriller stands out for its pioneering music videos, groundbreaking genre blending, and creativity. It's ahead of its time with its innovative production, and the songs themselves have become timeless. Yet another approach that Bruce Swedien implemented was that on Billie Jean, in order for the lyrics Don't Think Twice to sound far away. He had Michael sing through a 5-foot cardboard tube into a Shure SM37 mic. Another creative choice is that the drums on Billie Jean aren't formed from a drum machine, but instead, Sweden took apart a kick drum and physically isolated the hat from the snare, using a wood and metal panel. It's for reasons such as this that both innovation and songwriting scored 95 out of 100, giving a total score of 9.5 out of 10. This album really did set new standards in pop music and reshaped the entire industry. Moving on to consistency and coherence, Thriller is filled with standout tracks, but there are a couple of moments where the thematic direction is not as strong. The quality throughout the album is undeniable, with a score of 96 out of 100, but thematic coherence scores a bit lower at 75 out of 100 due to some shifts in tone and genre. When considering the album as a whole, it appears that Michael and his team may have strategically selected a collection of songs with strong commercial potential, aiming to create a series of standout hits rather than prioritizing a cohesive thematic structure. Adding up the scores, this gives an overall total of 8.55 out of 10. Thriller is a consistently strong album, but it's not a concept album with a tightly woven theme. Now the fourth criteria to analyze is album flow, which evaluates how well the tracks are arranged and how effectively they engage the listener throughout. For engagement and cohesion, Thriller scores 90 out of 100. The album is packed with infectious hooks and memorable moments that maintain listener interest from start to finish. Each track is crafted to captivate, making it an album that's very easy to return to. However, the thematic continuity scores slightly lower at 70 out of 100. While the songs are individually strong, there is less of a unifying narrative or thematic thread connecting them. As a result, the album can feel somewhat disjointed in terms of its overarching message or mood. That said, the track sequencing is well executed, scoring 87 out of 100. The arrangement of tracks helps to create a dynamic listening experience, with a good balance of energy and pacing that keeps the album moving smoothly. Altogether, these factors bring the total score for album flow to 8.31 out of 10, reflecting both the album's undeniable engagement and minor thematic inconsistencies. Now that we've done the 4 most important criteria, the remaining 4 are worth 5 points each. Let's start with critical acclaim, which includes average reviews from critics and reviews from fans. When it comes to critical acclaim, it's nearly impossible to find any fault with Thriller. The album has been widely regarded as a masterpiece, receiving glowing reviews from critics and achieving iconic status among fans. Released at a time when Michael Jackson was already a global star, Thriller took his career, and pop music as a whole, to unprecedented heights. Critics praised not only its innovative production and groundbreaking sound, but also its genre-defying appeal, which bridged pop, rock, R&B, and funk effortlessly. This universal praise is reflected in the average review from critics, which score a stellar 97 out of 100. Likewise, the average reviews from fans mirror this critical enthusiasm, also scoring an impressive 97 out of 100. The combination of critical and fan acclaim brings the total score to a near-perfect 4.85 out of 5, reinforcing Thriller's place as one of the most revered and beloved albums in music history. I mean, come on, its legacy as one of the greatest albums ever made is virtually undisputed. While Thriller is primarily celebrated for its groundbreaking production and Michael Jackson's exceptional performances, its lyrical sophistication holds up surprisingly well. On the surface, the album may not be recognized for its lyrical complexity, but a closer look reveals that the songs touch on a range of relatable and impactful themes. The thematic depth scores 80 out of 100, as the album addresses universal concepts like love, fear, and fame. Songs such as Wanna Be Startin' Something touches on social tension, while Thriller itself taps into fear and fantasy. In terms of linguistic complexity, the album scores 75 out of 100. While the lyrics are straightforward and accessible, they are perfectly suited to the album's pop appeal. It's the simplicity of the lyrics that allow the music to resonate with a wide audience, contributing to its timeless quality. MJ's delivery elevates these lyrics, imbuing them with emotion and energy. Together, These scores give Thriller a solid 3.9 out of 5, reflecting that while the lyrics may not be the album's defining feature, they play an important role in its lasting impact. The penultimate objective criteria for us to analyse is commercial success, and this is where Thriller truly shines. The album has achieved extraordinary success on a global scale, breaking numerous records and setting benchmarks in the music industry. Market Impact scores an impressive 98 out of 100, reflecting its profound influence on the music market and its role in shaping pop culture. The album's ability to cross genres and appeal to diverse audiences has cemented its place in music history. Meanwhile, sales performance and chart performance are both perfect, and they both score 100 out of 100. Thriller remains one of the best-selling albums of all time, with over 66 million copies sold globally. It held the #1 spot on the Billboard 200 for 37 weeks, a record that still stands today. And the album produced 7 top 10 singles on the Billboard Hot 100. Its success on the charts and in sales reflects its unparalleled popularity and enduring appeal. Altogether, these factors contribute to an exceptional score of 4.96 out of 5, underscoring Thriller's monumental impact and ongoing influence in the music industry. Finally, we have Enduring Legacy, which evaluates an album's influence and longevity. Thriller stands out as one of the most influential albums in music history. The album set new standards for music production, music videos, and genre blending, and its groundbreaking music videos, such as the iconic video for Thriller, redefined the art form and set a high bar for future productions. This is why influence and longevity receive a score of 99 and 100 respectively. Despite being released in 1982, Thriller continues to enjoy widespread acclaim and relevance. It remains a staple on many all-time greatest album lists and continues to be celebrated in pop culture. The album's songs are still played regularly on radio stations, and its influence is evident in contemporary music and media. When we add up these objective scores, Thriller comes in with a stunning total of 54.7 out of 60. This shows just how close it gets to perfection, dropping less than 6 points out of a possible 60. It's a monumental album that stands the test of time in every way, from its technical execution to its commercial dominance and its influence on future generations of musicians. Now let's move on to the subjective side. This is where your own personal connection and emotional response come into play. For me, my personal enjoyment of this album scores 95 out of 100. My favourite song has to be Beat It, and although many say that The Girl Is Mine is a weak point on the album, I don't feel that the quality really drops throughout. The album also contains, in my opinion, the best 3-track run in history. Having Thriller, then Beat It, then Billie Jean in a row is absolutely bonkers. Now for the emotional impact. It doesn't move me as much as some other albums, but it still gets me grooving. So I have scored it 85 out of 100. So that means that my personal, subjective score for the album is 45.5 out of 50. So now it's time to add up both the objective and subjective scores. 54.7 for the objective, and for me, 45.5. Therefore, Michael Jackson's Thriller earns a staggering 100.2 out of 110. If you remember back to our categories, that means that Thriller is in the Hall of Fame. And honestly, I can't think of a more fitting place for it. This is what makes Thriller a truly legendary album. Not just its critical and commercial success, but the deep personal connections it has forged with millions of listeners around the world. Okay, so now we've walked through the formula and scored Thriller objectively, but now it's time for you to make this a review of your own. So I've taken care of the objective side of things, giving Thriller a rock solid 54.7 out of 60. But remember, music isn't just about the numbers, it's about how it makes you feel, and that's where you come in. After this video, I want you to take a moment to think about your own experience with Thriller. How much do you personally enjoy the album, and how strong is the emotional impact it has on you? Give each of those a score out of 30 and 20 respectively, and then add your subjective score onto my objective one and see where the album ranks for you. This way, you don't have to worry about the fiddly calculations. You just focus on what matters to you in the music. Whether Thriller ends up as gold dust or reaches the Hall of Fame status like me, it's your personal take that completes the picture. And once you've tallied up your score, I'd love to see where Thriller or any other album lands for you. Share your final scores in the comments, and let's see how our rankings compare. Alternatively, you could share it somewhere else. That's right, I'm inviting you to be a part of something bigger. I'm excited to announce the launch of our brand new Discord community, a place where music lovers like you can come together, share thoughts, and most importantly, help me fine-tune these objective scores. We'll also discuss different albums, debate the criteria, and refine how we score each element. It's a chance to not only share your passion, but to be part of the process that defines these rankings. Joining is simple, just click the link in the description, hop into the community, and start contributing your thoughts. Whether you're a die-hard fan of classic rock or you're more into the latest hip-hop releases, your perspective is valuable. And who knows, with your help, we might uncover some hidden gems or reevaluate some classics together. As we grow, I'll be looking to create a panel of contributors. So if you're passionate about music and love analysing what makes an album great, this could be your chance to get involved on a much greater level. So head over to our Discord, share your thoughts on Thriller, or maybe if you're watching this video at a later date, any other albums we've reviewed. Together, we can build a community that celebrates music in all of its forms, and I can't wait to see what you bring to the table. So once again, let me ask you one simple question. What is the greatest music album of all time? Let's find out together, shall we?